I'm no longer bound, I'm no longer chained, I'm no longer captive, no longer restrained. Delivered, set free, and free to be me. Let me introduce myself.
Welcome everybody to Be the Light. This is Pastor Zakia Robinson, and who we have with us today is Tank and Sarah Ackerman. They're going to share with us their marriage journey, how God got them through a tough situation, and where they're currently standing. So tune in, because this is a show you don't want to miss.
My name is Freedom.
Welcome everybody to Be the Light. This is Pastor Zakia Robinson, and who I have to the left with me is Sarah Ackerman and Tank Ackerman, husband and wife. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. How about yourself, Zakia?
You welcome.
Yeah.
That's great. So Tank and Sarah, we go way back. Okay, way back. I mean, years, like what, 10 years maybe?
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is I could always hear Tank. Sarah, she was more like quiet and high and by. And I would always think like, I wonder who she is. I really want to get to know her. And then we end up having a chance to actually work together.
Yeah.
And this was my work best friend, my BFF, work BFF, when I was working there. And so I asked them to be on the show because I wanted to just talk to them about marriage. Lately, a lot of people, when I'm on live feed, you know, whether if it's YouTube, TikTok, there's always someone asking for me to pray for their marriage. Mm-hmm. And they work at a marriage ministry called Live the Life, and they also ran marriage ministries. Okay, mm-hmm. When it comes to like churches, they always had like the first hand to help married people, and so they also have a marriage journey. Okay, I'm pretty sure everything wasn't peaches and cream, you know, cookies and ice cream. So there's sometimes when you have a little bit of sugar and salt put together, and you got to try to blend these two together to try to fix what is going on in your marriage. And so I wanted to start there. So let's just talk about a little bit about yourself, Sarah, and then we're going to go to Tank, talk about a little bit about his journey and like how y'all met. And then like, what was the one biggest struggle that you faced where yours was like, this could have made or broke us, but God.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a very interesting story about how we met, and we tried to do the Cliff Note version of that.
True.
But we have been this year we'll have been married 19 years.
Yeah.
And
in August, yeah.
Yeah, and we have 4 children, ages 17 all the way down to 5.
Right.
You know, we called the last one fourth and final, as you know. And
That was y'all surprise baby.
He was our He is a surprise every day because he's super outgoing and you know him, so
yes.
he's so fun, and God really did bless us with that last one, Zakia. But so going back, I guess back to 2002 is when Tank and I met, and it really was a God story. Mm-hmm. I love telling this story for people who are waiting. Who are waiting for that person and realizing like there's really nothing that we can do. God, you know, he's going to have that divine appointment for you.
Right.
I mean, there's things that we can do to prepare ourselves, but you know, God is just so amazing. I had been not really living my life for God in my early 20s, and at just 6 months before I met Tank, I had rededicated my life to Christ and had decided I was going to do things his way, which I found out is much better.
It is. And missed out on a lot of the mess that we create ourselves.
Exactly. So in that, I went on a journey to live for him, and I felt so led to, this is going to sound crazy, I hope y'all are ready, to fly from Tallahassee to Denver to either find closure or a new beginning with my college boyfriend. Because he had always been the person that I had measured up to everyone else. And I just felt like it was such a closed chapter in my life. And so I drove over to Jacksonville because, you know, it's kind of hard to find a good price in Tallahassee sometimes.
Yes, it is.
Went to Jacksonville. I got on the airplane. I had my brand new Bible. It was like a cheesy Hallmark movie where I put the Bible over my chest and I was like, God, I am just leaving this all up to you. Whatever you want for this trip is what I want. And I just want to be obedient. And it truly, as cheesy as that sounds, as you can picture it all, it was really the first time in my life that I had relinquished my desires to his desires. And I'm so glad that I did that because, long story short, I went to Denver, I got closure, And as my ex-boyfriend's mom was driving me to the airport, out of nowhere, she never talks about God, but she put her hand on my leg and she said, "Sarah, God has someone else for you." Well, I didn't know that was going to be just a couple hours later that someone was going to show up. My plane got rerouted out of nowhere from Denver. I was supposed to go through like Oklahoma City or something. It went through Dallas instead. And I was like, when you're just, almost like a new believer and you're just like so on fire. Right. I was like, it's okay. God's plan, I'm rerouted. And so I went to Dallas, got on the Dallas plane. And that's when I saw Tank sitting in the row there. And as I was passing by him, I thought I gave him a very nice smile, but apparently
she gave him one of those smiles like, I just got to smile at this black person just to be nice. And I'm just being real with you. And when I smile, I'm going to be pretty genuine.
You see all the teeth.
Oh, you're going to see all the teeth. But you're going to feel it. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. And this here just like, and the way I took it, I almost like, I got offended by her. Wow. And I almost treated her like, she was going behind me. I almost treated her like, you know what? I'm in first class. You can take your behind to the back. Even though I wasn't in first class. Right. Just a few rows up above her. But before that, I kind of give you the other story part of my side of the story. I was, obviously, I was Christian man, but also I was living in the world too. It's like that cross in which you don't want to be.
Right.
I'm hot and cold.
Straggling.
Straggling. Yes. And so what happened is that I was in that position where I was kind of like, man, did God give me a gift just to being single? Because I came out of a divorced home. All right, my parents, my mom and dad really didn't make it in terms of their marriage, and I didn't want to repeat that. Everybody around me just single parents, and that's just the culture that I was around.
That's what you see now too, though.
Oh
it's
yeah,
the norm now. Yeah.
So who wants to sign up for that and have a small percentage like, well, do I want to get married and then end up being this way? And honestly, I felt like if I got married, man, I'm gonna be a good catch for somebody. That's what I kept feeling. Nothing wrong with that, but just how I felt.
Right.
But I was in the world. It's like, meet girls and all this stuff. So I knew the story, and it's like, man, I just didn't I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling where it's predictable. Everything's predictable. And I just wanted something that was different, new, and I had high expectations. High expectations for, just because I wanted to live life and I wanted people to understand me. I was really involved in a lot of different things, and the people I was around, they just really couldn't support what I was trying to do. So I ended up going out to visit a friend, young lady in Oklahoma. And so I did the same thing as Sarah. I got, you couldn't find good prices in Tallahassee. You just couldn't. Right. And so the next flight I can take out of here to go to, I drove over to Jacksonville. And so I found flights out of Jacksonville, much cheaper, went over to Oklahoma and, had a good time out there going to, just doing all the kind of fun stuff out there, whatever you can do in Oklahoma. And I got, that's where I ended up going to Dallas, and we met each other there. And that's basically what it came down to. Now, I'm going to tell you, when she saw me, well, I guess I don't know if I want to get that part yet. Yeah, I'll let you finish. I'll let you start and I'll share the appearance.
I remember that when y'all was talking about it at the church we first gathered together. That was funny. So I'm ready to hear it, but go ahead.
Yeah, this one it was nothing but God.
Yeah, that's true.
I kept walking down. I went and sat down, and the plane took off, and I could not get him out of my head. It was just like I kept thinking about him. And, I was watching him mess with the little light thing, and I always teased that he had on a sleeveless shirt, so the light was like glistening down on his muscles, so that part helped. But I was like, wow, oh my goodness, like just this overwhelming, and then it was like, go talk to him. Go talk to him. I'm like, are you crazy? You want me to get up, walk on this? I'm going to look like a crazy person. But I did. I grabbed my purse and I started walking this long walk up the aisle, and I got right up to where his row was, and I chickened out and took a step backwards like, what am I thinking? And I hit the beverage cart. And the beverage, they don't play. Yeah. They're like, you need to sit down because we got somewhere to go.
Move it or lose it.
Yes. So I plopped down in that seat, and my wonderful line was, do you mind if I bug you till we land? That was,
okay.
So ladies, that one worked. And he smiled at me with his big, genuine smile and said, sure. And he was wearing a sleeveless, he looked like he came off a Belle Biv DeVoe, like, back in the day MTV video. He had his bald head.
Bright orange shirt at the time, tank top,
big old hoop earrings, the big baggy jeans. Like, it was not somebody that was my normal,
Right. And I tell everybody that when you meet your spouse, it's going to be the opposite of what you was hoping for.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Or what you pictured.
Thought you needed. Yes.
Right. But when you say, God, have your way, it's going to be the complete opposite.
He was like, okay then.
Well, because naturally, even with that whole story, she had to be obedient to God on that, because what happened, she almost didn't want to take the step. Mm-hmm. And so what happened, knowing her natural disposition, Sarah's not just going to go out the way and just going to go up and just speak to someone. Mm-hmm. That's just not her. That's just not her. So that had to be that motivating factor. And then me, if you're looking at the outer cover of the book, and you're just looking at the book cover, it may not fit what you think that's inside that book.
Wow. That's
and
powerful.
So, yes, I'm sitting there. I had to get a big old silver chain on. I'm showing tattoo. It's just, I'm sitting there reading the book. I'm reading the book. I am not like probably what she probably even think. I know the whole thing looked messed up. Look like a hip hop person reading a book. I mean, it just looked different. Yeah. All right. But obviously there's another part of the story that you need to understand, because God began to move on her in this way. You can share that part about the beverage cart. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's
so here was just another thing is that, so I sat down and, had my great pickup line. And then I kept holding my elbow in because I didn't want to get hit, by the beverage cart. And then finally I just turned to see, like, where is this cart? And there was no cart. Not the whole way back, all the way to the restrooms. Nothing was in that aisle. And I was like, okay, you got me, God. You got me. Literally forced me into that seat. So it really has been, a divine appointment. From that moment, we both drove back to Tallahassee separately. He called me the next day, asked for me at work. And when I answered, he's like, it's the passenger. So, yes, it was so smooth.
Well, I still had my hip hop outfit on, so bag of jeans, everything.
Right. But we were together from that day forth. Wow. That was it. 2 years later, we were engaged.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies, it don't take 5-10 years for a man to propose. Okay. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to put it out there. A man typically knows right away. Did you know right away when meeting Sarah, or did it take like a couple of weeks, couple of months before you knew, like, yeah, this is it for me?
That's a very good question you asked. I'm going to share this with you. All right. So, I always had this thing when I meet someone, and it's like, okay, sometimes I have a pretty big personality, all this type of stuff. Sometimes I feel like a person can try to match their personality with you because they want to show that, they always want to show you their better side.
Right.
And so what happened is that I always had this thing. I said, if I meet a person for at least, if it lasts for 6 months and they haven't shown me anything, then I'm going to they probably pretty solid. Mm-hmm. It's hard to hide a personality for so long. Because I always thought that some people who can be legitimately look good on the outside, but you can be a little crazy. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. And I have no idea. And I had to that was always my measuring point. If I can make it through 6 months. But I also had a thing with her. First of all, it was completely brand new. Okay. I never really, dated outside my race, but making somebody my girlfriend, it was just not one of those things. Mm-hmm. And God was just moving on my heart that, like, hey, you know what? She's somebody, somebody different. This is something different. Mm-hmm. When I first initially met her, I thought she didn't say anything about, like, did she like me? I thought she just like, well, maybe I just want to have a good conversation with a black man. I'm just being real with you. Like, well, you can be a good friend. I'm like, and I never saw anything saying that she like black men. And there's certain signs that you get. And I never saw that on her. Mm-hmm. And you know how it is sometimes the way a person with makeup, lipsticks, the way they talk, it could be jewelry. I can pick up any little sign. Mm-hmm. I didn't see none of that on her. So I'm thinking like, dude, this is new. This is crazy. What does she want out of this relationship? I don't know what it is. So I always had this thing. So going back to answer your question. Why are you laughing, Sarah? I knew within about 2 weeks of our conversation that I said, if she can make it past and if she's authentic of who she says she is, this is somebody I can really, I think I'd be with this person. I told her I did. I said, I was the first person I did said, man, I feel like I need to tell you that I love you. I said, but I don't know. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
Because I never felt that. I'm be honest with you, that is odd. And you don't want to freak nobody out the first time you meet them. All right, I'm out the door. You don't tell me you love me. What do you mean? We just met. But I knew it was a God thing. Now, the thing, I had a requirement. All right, so I got to put it out there. This is being real. and anybody who's seeing this can probably appreciate this. I always believe, all right, so even though I always had certain things. And my thing was always it was pet peeve. And if you got them, just do some of the, I'm going to give you some little exercise routine to do.
Let me apologize in advance for this story.
But I said, man, I saw everything. Or she's a beautiful lady, great conversation, just spiritual, all this type of stuff. I never saw her ankles. And I had a thing about, nothing wrong. I'm just telling you, I just had a thing for women cankles. And I just could not get past if your leg and your ankle the same size. It's just like, it was a hard thing for me. I'm just going to be real. Can I be real with you on that? I'm just being real.
You wanted to see her ankles.
I wanted to see the ankles. And I finally saw the ankles. And it was like, oh my goodness. That was, and it's not like I did that against everyone.
Deal.
It was a done deal.
He was on board. I had no idea. I came over and I had on a little skirt. I had no idea that my ankles were going to be the deal breaker,
the deal breaker.
Potentially. But yes, thank you for that wonderful God-inspired story. But to answer your question originally, 10 days, Zakia. 10 days. On the 10th day, he told me that he loved me.
Wow.
And that was just real. And guys usually know. I knew she met, it wasn't just all about the ankles, but her heart, it was, but I wanted to, it's just some part you got to understand a part of the story. Mm-hmm. And because some people it may be a turnoff. Yeah. But there were just so many things and it was so new and it was just different than what I've had. And she's complete. I'm from Florida. She's from Northwest. She's from Seattle. And we were completely different worlds, but we had so much in common. And that's the part I appreciated. She loved sports. I love sports. She wanted to work out. She cared about her health. She was a spiritual woman. She checked the boxes in all these areas. And I'm like, man, we became like best friends. Mm-hmm. Right. And because there were so many commonalities that we had. And it really, I felt like it was just like, I pretty much got a dude I'm hanging out with, not a dude. But you know what I'm saying?
He's
a best friend. Yeah.
She said with good ankles. Good ankles. In case I didn't hear that.
She did a lot of calf raises before I met with her. So that was kind of my story. But guys really do know if they meet that certain benchmark. It shouldn't take forever.
Let me ask you this, Tank, because I know there's a lot of women that watch my show. Okay. Yeah. So I hear some that's in relationships for like 10, 15 years, have kids, they're living like they're married. The whole 9 yards. But the guy won't propose. What would your advice be to these women? As a man looking in, what would your advice be?
As far as a man, not a woman, a man not wanting to propose if they've been around with them for years.
Right. What would be your advice? Whatever comes to mind on that? Like, what is your thoughts on that? There's so many thoughts on it because I just feel like there either have some conversations that need to be had, all right, for whatever the reservation of that guy, because sometimes guys have their reservations about certain things, and sometimes, and I'm be honest with you, and women do it as well, but guys can sit there and probably sitting there maybe waiting for another next best thing if they don't have this person, if they haven't really committed, and sometimes guys have an issue with commitment as well, and that's just a real thing. Guys have a commitment issue. And just probably kind of the same thing I probably had. Just like, I just don't know if I, want to be married, but I didn't really, I don't know if I really want to take the chance by getting married and then potentially being divorced. Just because I don't understand all the rules. I didn't understand what made my mom and dad want to split up. And I'm looking at all these other people and I'm not seeing truly successful marriages. That's just being honest with you. So I don't, that's a very good question you brought up. I feel like there's so many angles you can hit on it, but you feel like if it's God-centered, that's the part. Because guess what? If it's God-centered and I know she has her own walk with God, I have my own walk with God, all my respect and everything is going to go here. I can't be worried about what she's trying to do, because she has to turn around and make that she has her own relationship with God. Right. And so I feel like if it's not God-centered, it's gonna be very if you're unequally yoked in that sense, where one person may be spirit-filled and another person may be kind of like still want to be in the world.
it can be very, I'm not saying it can't be a success, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to take some work. Because a lot of times people go, oh, I can change them. And then you get into this relationship. Now you're doing married people things. Now you have these soul ties that's built. Now you have kids that's built. And now you've stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, you feel stuck. You know, you're really not stuck, but you feel stuck because it's like, okay, now it's just not myself. I have all of these different avenues that I just opened up, but only if I would have waited. And a lot of times I think, especially as women, it plays a huge part in, like if the father is not there, okay, then they're looking for love in all the wrong places. Right. They're giving up themselves a little bit too soon instead of waiting for marriage because they're like, I just want to do it because the guy wants to do this. Right. And then next thing you know, you're doing this. Now you created this bond and he's in it just because it's fun for him. You're in it because it's love. And then it's like you're going around this circle. Now you're mad because he's not proposing. I saw this TikTok video. Okay. And this guy, he was recording the whole thing. I think he had somebody recording it for him. And as she walked in the door, he was on one knee getting ready to propose. She literally took the ring out the box, threw it, okay, and was like, oh, after 15 plus years and kids, now you want to propose? Like, get that thing out my face. Like, she was really upset. But it's like, how can you be upset with him when you waited 15 years?
Right.
You know, now you're mad because he's finally ready and you've been ready 15 years ago. So it's one of the things where we have to, not just women, but men, because there are some men that's ready to get married and waiting on the woman. You know, it's not just one gender that's waiting. And so when it comes to you, Sarah, how long would you have waited? If that's just a question, just throwing it out there. How long you think you would have waited? Knowing the biblical standards and everything and having all the knowledge now.
I wasn't willing to wait long. You know, I knew what I wanted. I knew the stage of life that I was in. And I mean, thankfully, we were on the same page. We wanted to get married. We wanted to be able to do it God's way. And that was so important. But I feel for people that meet that person that they feel is for them and they're not on the same page. And to kind of answer the question that you posed to him, it's so important to have those conversations.
Yeah, it is.
If you're with someone and marriage is not coming into the conversation, there's a reason why. You know, kind of like he said, there could be past hurts, there could be a lot of fear, or it could be it just doesn't feel like you're the right one. But you have to have those conversations. And be a safe place for them to have those conversations so they don't feel like they're being attacked, but really where you're like, I really want to hear, like, what, you know, what are your thoughts on this? And knowing that they're going through something too, that's probably not the ideal scenario for them either.
Right.
So I just think it's important to have that conversation.
I think a lot of people are compromised. Especially like if they've been waiting for a while and they've been waiting for someone to come into their life and then they finally got somebody to come into their life and they're just like, well, it's better than being single.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, it's better to be single and connect with God and let God send that person to you. And so I do want to ask y'all, did you want to say something on that?
I was just saying, I think you said it. I think people begin to lower their standards.
Yeah.
And they begin, like you said, they begin to settle. And when you do begin to settle, you're not getting where I feel like God's best for you. And sometimes, and for whatever reason, and we could settle because situations that we're in, I don't care if you have multiple kids. I don't care if you're not in this situation. Some people feel stuck. I don't care if you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you still been single. You know, sometimes we have to take a hard look at ourselves as well.
It's better to be single than divorced.
That's exactly right. And so, but yeah, Sarah, and you said something too as well. It is going back to have those necessary, they're difficult conversations, but they're necessary. I think it's about how you present the question and things of that nature, because some people don't really want to go in those spots and for whatever reason, they might even had those past experiences, those traumas, and some people don't want to revisit those. And even if they've been married multiple times, some people don't, they just kind of stuff or repress, whatever it is, they stuff those things and they never really deal with those hurts and they just bury them inside and they take it on to the next relationship.
Right, yeah.
And so,
that's so true.
So I think those necessary conversations have to be had in terms of like asking about your future with another. Like, how do you see our future? You know, do you see us? How do you really want to get married? You know, and I mean, I'm not saying because some guys don't want to feel like you're all out. They don't want to feel like they're. It's like this right here. I'm equated to a sales term. It's like people love to buy, but they don't like to be sold to. All right, so people don't want to feel like they're being pushed into marriage, even though they want to be married. All right, and so I want to equate it into that realm, but I think it's just a way about doing it in the safe place where a person feel, hey, I want to share my thoughts, but I don't want to feel like you're going to beat me up because I'm not agreeing with your, if that's not the case, then you just need to run. There's red flags.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just need to go.
I really believe that a lot of times people just need to be upfront. Like, hey, I'm just looking to date. One thing I love about my son, okay, because like I've told him and I'm talking about my oldest, one thing I've always told him is that if you're not ready to date and you really just want to see people, then tell that person I'm just seeing people.
Yep. Right.
So that one person is not like you didn't tell them. So if they choose to get themselves attached, that's on them.
Right.
And then and I've seen him do that where he's just like, no, I broke up with the person because I just felt like I wanted to be single and I don't want to cheat on them. Right. I really love that about him to be so young and already putting that into place. And now I see him in this 7-month plus relationship now. And I'm like, okay, like how's things going? He was like, no cheating game. Like I'm not cheating. I was like, okay, cool. But I want to get back on you two really quick. And I want to ask, what was a bump in the road, okay, where you were just like, we got to go to God on this. We're not seeing eye to eye. And how did you deal with it?
That's a good one.
Well, I would say, and we share this when we do our marriage classes, that about 4 months into our marriage, we had like a bombshell hit our marriage. It was an external thing, but it was catastrophic.
Yeah, catastrophic.
And it was really one of those things. And I always tell people, man, I wish we had lived the life, like the adventures in marriage and communication skills and all that then. But we didn't, but we had God.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what we really realized, and this is so important, and I'm so thankful that we realized this early on, we knew that God had put us together.
Yeah.
And we recognized that moment that this was the enemy's plan to knock us out early.
Right.
Because what happened was something that most couples probably couldn't get through. And I remember just sitting, I'd go out to Lake Ella and I would just pray, my big tall Starbucks. So I wasn't sleeping a lot, and I would just play worship music and I would just download that into my spirit. And I just would, read the word and just be encouraged in knowing, do not be swayed by this circumstance. God has called you together. You know that you have a purpose. And we've seen that purpose unfold all throughout our marriage. And so it's kind of giving a vague, broad scope of this, but the key for us was recognizing that this was a union that was honored by God, that we were put together for a reason, and to not let that distraction destroy the purpose that he had for us.
Yeah, because it's so easy. I think it's so easy to lose focus, especially when you have something that hits your marriage, okay?
Oh, yeah.
It can knock you back, make you wonder, did I marry the right person? What was I thinking? I mean, the enemy, it's like the enemy will kick you while you're down. He gets you down, okay? And then he's kicking you while you're down. So you're constantly taking these blows. So one of the things that I like that you said was that you actually you went to Lake Ella. You basically was meditating with God and allowing God to fill you up, okay? And it's like what I just literally seen in the spiritual realm is you down at your lowest, but there's this huge shield and the angel standing over protecting the blows that's coming, so that it didn't damage you even more.
That's right.
And that's what the word of God is. The word of God, when you're at your lowest, you have to realize, like, you have to pick up your sword. You have to put the full armor on. You have to use every weapon that God have given you, because I've had moments where I had to, say, no, I know God brought me and my husband together because there's things that we went through. And it seemed like it was hard to get out of that pit. It seemed like, man, the blows that come, the thoughts that come, and you're trying to throw scripture out. You're trying to remember God's word. You're trying to be in good spirit, which is really hard.
Right.
Like you said, lack of sleep, losing sleep. It can hit home, especially when it's involving your marriage and your kids. And it's just like, man, we have a lot at stake right now. So what about you? How was that for you?
It was the same thing. It was such a, it was such a troubling, first of all, a traumatic experience, okay, for anyone. And then go through something like this. You couldn't go through this individually, because this right here could have put someone in divorce if you didn't have the strength or because God said in the word, talks about, he says, my strength is made perfect in weakness. And when you're at your weakest points, that means he will cover that. And I felt like in this moment of a weak spot that God began to cover us and to be restoring us. But it definitely impacted me so much, because I feel like the only thing I had was God. And then sometimes you don't feel worthy to talk to other people about it. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel like another person may not understand what's going on. So who do you convey to? Who do you talk to? And sometimes and a lot of times the enemy tries to shift you and put you and isolate you with your thoughts. And that's but when you realize like God has put us together and we're going to try to make it through this thing together, I will not let this situation define who we are or our marriage. Even though I was willing to, I was willing to let things go, just because it was kind of like on my side of things, but it was out of my hands the way things went, how to handle. And it seemed like he was trying to.
No, go ahead.
Okay, no, but it was such a impact on our marriage, but I feel like it redirected who we we're supposed to be and how we're moving forward. And now I can't believe we're standing before you, even in a position right now that we're teaching other people's how to be married, how to get out of situation, and how to restore and regain strength in your marriage, and how to move forward in the midst of impact that could have defined who you were. But we just trusted in God.
Right.
All right.
That's amazing. Yes.
I was just going to add on to that is for couples, when you do go through crisis, it is so important to be on the same page and to pray about who you talk to.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is going to be supportive. They're going to be more wrapped up in the details versus God's plan and purpose. So, that's just a side note there is sometimes you do isolate when there's a crisis in your marriage, but eventually you do need, someone who can come alongside you with that wise counsel and encouragement, and just be mindful that it's not auntie so-and-so and cousin so-and-so. Like, make sure that you're pulling off of people who are truly there to support you and guide you with biblical principles and backing.
That's important because a lot of times you run into friends and family that can't give you that wise counsel. They telling you what you should be doing, what they would do, and it's like, this have nothing to do with the word of God right now.
Right.
Like, I need some good counsel. Right. I remember I came to you a long time ago. Actually, I called for Sarah. But I think you were like giving one of the kids a bath, or you were doing something with one of the kids, and then Tank happened to answer your phone. And I'm like, well, can you talk?
He will.
Yeah, and he did. And he helped walk me through some things. And, I'm grateful of that, because really I want to say that's kind of like the start of the relationship that I end up getting with the both of you. Yeah. And then later on really bonded with you, just because being a mother itself and sharing personal information with you. Yeah. And so what would be the last advice that you can give to a married couple today that is struggling?
I want to say, I think that obviously what we teach is about marriage education. And, I always kind of make the example. It's like when we get married, you have the part where before we get married, we kind of go through the courting phase. You sit down with maybe a pastor, somebody give you like to figure out like, okay, are they compatible? They give you some sound scriptures. And then you get married. After the proposal, you get married. And then they send you on your way and say, they'll never see you again about it, and just hope you work on it. And I always kind of use that as, I said, this is the equivalent of working out one time in your life and expect to be fit for the rest of your life. It is not going to happen. So you need education, marriage education, and I mean, obviously we're a big component of Live the Life because I feel like they're doing the right thing. We've seen hundreds of thousands of marriages being healed and saved, and they're taught the proper principles of how to communicate, how to get through conflict resolution. So those things are very, very vital, and nobody's ever talking about it. We see a great marriage, but we don't really understand the details, especially if you've been surrounded around a bunch of people that's been divorced. Where are you going to pull from? Where the strength?
Generation of divorce, divorce after divorce, right?
So my thing is just saying, make sure if you're struggling, you reach out to either live the life or but I think getting that proper marriage education, relationship education is key, and not just getting it one time. Come back and keep doing it, because this is the most important part of your outside of Christ as our first decision. Your second decision is the person that you're going to be with for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And we always know it's not good for man to be alone. That's what it's biblical. But this is your second ministry. This is your first ministry on this earth outside of Christ. This person is the single most important thing that you'll ever do. It doesn't come with a manual. They show you how to do it. I don't know how she operates, but giving us the skills to know how to work together on our marriage is what is key. Mm-hmm. So that's my kind of a.
Yeah, and I would just say, I think the enemy will make you feel like you're in a category of one. Ooh. And
come on,
I would just say you're not alone. There are so many marriages that are struggling, but the good news is if both of you have just a tiny little bit of hope or desire to make it work, it is so doable. We've seen so many marriages, I don't care how much in crisis you are, with the right tools, with the right conversations, with the right mindset, and taking that wall down and trauma being healed, and so many things. It is so possible and doable, and it's just I would just say don't give up and keep the hope. And again, really, we the programs that we have at Live the Life are phenomenal.
Yeah, we're going to actually talk about one after this show. So there's going to be another show that I want y'all to tune into next week, okay? Because they're going to be on the show today, and they're also going to be on the show next week, okay? And so we just wanted to make sure that I put that out there. And I do want to say, while y'all were talking and giving your journey of like how God blessed your marriage and how y'all met, one of the things that just fell into my spirit was that the very thing that your ministry, the calling of your ministry is the very thing that the enemy will attack. He tried to attack your marriage, and y'all were actually prophesied. I remember y'all telling me that y'all were prophesied that y'all were going to be working for marriages, right? Is that correct? That's exactly right. That's the very thing that the enemy wanted to attack. Mm-hmm. And so there's some people that the enemy is constantly attacking their finances, probably because you're supposed to be a business owner, or maybe someone who's supposed to be blessing others financially. Some of you are probably dealing with health issues, not realizing that you are called to be a healer. You know that God's going to use your hands to heal people. So it's like the very thing that the enemy is attacking you with right now is possibly the very thing that God wants to use for his glory. Mm-hmm. And so I want y'all to stay encouraged. I'm so grateful that they came on the show today to be able to speak to us. And if anyone missed any of this on the radio, okay, because we are on the radio, Wave 94, and it's also 94.1 if you want to tune in. Please tune into that, because it's possible. Your marriage, it can work. It can last. You just have to put God. God is the main ingredient. It's like baking a cake. The main ingredient to that cake is flour. So God will help keep everything together. And then also, if those who's listening and you just tuned in, you're like, man, I really wanted to hear the beginning of this show. Please don't hesitate to go over to my YouTube, Zacchaeus Robinson. And I really look forward to the next show, which is getting ready to take place for next week. Again, thank you so much for tuning in with Be the Light. And if you need a coach, if you need someone to help you with your inner healing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All of my information is on the BeTheLight.live website. All right. Be blessed, everybody.
I'm no longer bound. I'm no longer chained. I'm no longer captive, no longer restrained. Delivered, set free, and free to be me. Let me introduce myself.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Be the Light. If you are looking for a life coach, or maybe you're looking for some inner healing, please visit BeTheLight.live. Again, that is BeTheLight.live. And you can also follow us on YouTube for a replay of this show at Zacchaeus Robinson. Be blessed.
My name is